I can't even handle it. All right. So, the Buddhist people, the Buddha, I don't know, Siddhartha Buddha, Gautama, whatever, 2,500 years ago, he figured all this stuff out, and he taught a technique to the Indian people at that time, and then he died, and then the Indian people carried on his teachings, and it's all been documented. We talk about, okay, so it was awakening. People still talk about awakening, dark night of the soul. Collectively, we started to understand this concept and this process, and now it's non-duality. Everybody says non-duality, non-duality, non-duality. So it's like it was all documented. Like it's all been like marked out. Like there's stages. Like there's a stage called in Buddhism, this is a stage in your personal development, like the development of your consciousness, overtaking the identification with your form, right? There's a stage called Banga. It's called Banga, right? The total dissolution of self. The wisdom of the stage of Banga is that there is no I. There is no permanent self, soul, or ego. There is no I. There's no I. What is this I? Like on the level of apparent reality, we walk in I all day long. Everybody does. We're born, we walk in I. We're seldom aware of anything going on outside of us. And as we develop our consciousness through whatever path or practice or whatever, we start to become aware of things. And if you continue practicing and you continue practicing specifically in the way the Buddha taught, which was Vipassana meditation, the Eightfold Noble Path, which is three things, okay? Morality, concentration, and insight. That's what the Buddhist people taught. That's what they practiced. That's what it is. But if you continue to develop and practice, and you do in that specific technique, you can reach a stage of Banga where there is no I. Now, I think a lot of people, like Jim Carrey, for example, he came out on the internet maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and he was like blissed out of his mind, right? And he had attained Banga, Nana, probably through acting, through self-examination in acting, in the medium of acting. He was examining himself. He was questioning himself. He said, who am I? Basically, because he was all these characters. Who am I? When you contemplate the existence of yourself, who am I? What am I? What part is I? That's when you start to dissolve the self and you can reach the stage of Banga. So I think a lot of people think like, now it's curious, people in Buddhism, it's explained that Banga is a stage that people mistake for the final goal. Because when you finally separate from being me on the apparent level to the actual level, oh, there is no me. I'm just consciousness, right? There's a big switch. It's a big change. It's a big change. But that's actual reality. It's like this, Sometimes you're in apparent reality. Sometimes you're in actual reality. Sometimes you're in apparent reality. Sometimes you're in actual reality. And I think some people mistake that stage on this path of development and maturation from beings of form to beings of consciousness as the final goal. And it's not. It's just a stage of a process that will continue to go on and on and on and on. It's never ending. There's another stage where it is understood that there is no other way than through self-examination to achieve the final goal of liberation from suffering. You see, and when you start to really understand, and this is what the Buddha taught, when you really start to understand the cause of suffering, and the cause of suffering being craving and aversion, being non-acceptance, when you really start to understand that, on the level of experience, then you start to understand that phenomena always arises and it always passes away. But you are not clinging to it. You are not craving it. You are not grasping after it. You are not keeping it alive. You let it come and you let it go. You let it come and you let it go. You let it come and you let it go. Because that is the nature of all conditioned things. All conditioned phenomena is to arise and pass away, arise and pass away. Only the clinging and the craving of the mind is what keeps it alive and makes suffering exist. See, when you start to understand the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, it really becomes clear. Buddhism is cool. See, I don't really talk about Buddhism on my channel. I had my psychosis experience, and right before I had that, I had a download. I had a download about craving and how craving created suffering, all about the Noble Truths. And so I started getting into meditation, Vipassana meditation, the courses as taught by Essen Goenka, which is basically what the Buddha taught. So the Buddha taught three things: morality. You need a base of morality, right? He taught the Noble Eightfold Path, which is basically three things. The first thing being morality. Because when you engage in an activity that's highly sensualized, highly sensationalized, it tips the scale of your mind. It offsets the balance of your mind. You can't make a balance if you're doing something to create an imbalance. You can't. You need to stop doing the thing that's creating the imbalance. So morality is the absolute essential for having a strong base. To concentrate, which is the second thing that is taught in Buddhism. Right concentration. Right concentration. Concentration on what? Concentration on the breath as a doorway into the being of you on the material level. And once you get there, the mental level, the mental and material level, the breath. The breath is the autonomic nervous system. At work, the easiest one to see. Contact of sensations, right? I mean, and then through concentration, insight can be attained, which is used to purify the mind, to rid it of the habit pattern that leads us to crave. Crave things. Craving, now, understanding that craving and aversion is the different heads of the same coin, right? I have aversion towards something that is something I don't want. In those moments, I crave for something I do want, or I crave for something I want more of, because I want to avoid what I don't have, right? So what am I saying? It's all a journey, and there's going to be a lot of nonsense out there, folks. Be careful navigating the nonsense. But it's best if you trust yourself, because your higher self, your inner voice, your angels, your life path, God, whoever, whatever it is you want to call it, it's going to lead you to where you need to go to unlock the life lesson that's going to allow you to develop your conscious awareness. Like, more than what somebody says, more than what I say, more than non-duality hashtag, or more than Dark Soul Night of the Dark Soul hashtag, or whatever. It's like, you need to trust your own experience. People say things and you say, I'm going to be skeptical of that. I'm going to look into it for myself to see, so I can know for me. So anyways, all right. If you don't know about Buddhism, Buddhism is pretty cool. It's a practice and an option that has been discovered and given to us as a way to end suffering for ourselves, and the suffering that we generate in situations that may be pleasant or unpleasant, which we all do. So anyways, hope you'd enjoyed.